you texted me the link to like record, and I was like standing in the Gap dressing room with a toddler, and I was like, I'm in a mall. I'm in the mall. I took him to Build-A-Bear this morning because it's been raining for like 2 days straight. And so we went to Build-A-Bear because I was like, we have to get out of the house. And a mall with a toddler boy is perfect because they can just run.
Okay.
Like, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like
Correct.
carpeted, like most of it's carpeted. It's wide open spaces. Nobody's in there at 10 a.m. on what is it, Thursday? Nobody's there. So we're just like running around. He had his first mall pretzel today, like
Like an
an
Auntie
iconic
Anne's?
experience. Oh yeah, Auntie Annie's. And I will say his were better than mine. He got the pretzel bites, and I got like the big pretzel.
The pretzel bites
Anyway,
are so good.
they're
It's
so
so
good.
childhood mall food that I recently discovered that I love, again, is now Dippin Dots. I went
Oh,
down, Sam, I went down the craziest Dippin Dots rabbit hole after seeing them at Dollywood. I was like, how has this company been around forever? What have they been doing? And it's genius how they've like stuck around because they sold like their technology on how they made the Dippin Dots, like that freezing
yeah.
technology is like was super beneficial to like other companies and other food companies and stuff like that. So that was like a large, and I was like, do you know what? Because of that, I get the same things at a theme park as I did when I was a kid as
Mm-hmm.
an adult. So thank you,
That's
Dippin' Dots.
crazy. Thank you, Dippin' Dots. I haven't had Dippin' Dots in a long time, but I sure as hell ate a ton of ice cream when we were on vacation last week. Like, so much ice
How
cream, I should be ashamed.
how was your New England bougiest life?
Oh, my New England bougie excursion. For anyone who does not follow along on social media, my husband and I and my parents and his mother, we all went on this kind of like little New England expedition. We started off in Newport, Rhode Island at a wedding, and then we spent a week on Nantucket, which is just such a delightfully beautiful place. Also, like 3 times as expensive as like you want it to be, but it is so wonderful, and we just enjoyed it so much. And we were calling it Teddy's birthday trip because he turned 2 the first night of our trip. So yeah, we called it Teddy's birthday trip to Nantucket, and it was so much fun. We ate so much ice cream. Shout out to the juice bar for making waffle cones that I will dream about forever, like ever and ever and ever. They're so,
That
I
is a
wish I could describe to you the smell that
huh.
comes out of that establishment. It is, I mean, even not pregnant, I would think it's ridiculously good, but pregnant, next level. We're going off the rails here, but waffle cone only when it's like homemade and that
Okay.
good. I mean, it was that good.
Well, I will get us on the rails for a second.
Get us
Not
on the
jumping
rails.
into the big things, but you just came back from Nantucket. I am
Yes.
now coming to you not live from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Like
Jet setting, done with camp.
camp ended Sunday. I was like I had 48 hours between camp and like my flight here in which
Mm-hmm.
I had to it's like everybody talks about like I want to just like go travel and everything like that and it's amazing, but holy crap, sometimes the logistics just hit you in the face at like the last possible moment because my dad was like, I want to borrow your car when you're gone, and then I realized my plates were expiring and I wasn't a South Carolina resident anymore, and it was just like DMV, errands,
Oh,
packing, like figuring out. I forgot to tell certain family members that I was coming, and those were the family members I was planning on staying with. They are not in
oh.
town. My cousin
So
is
where are you staying?
thankfully the big Latin family in Argentina thing really does help because I would say I have like 10 to 15 family members within like a 3-4 mile radius. So thankfully, my cousin, who also has a miserable, sad life, is at like a beach town outside Sao Paulo with his girlfriend. And he already was getting a cat sitter. So I'm just cat sitting for him this week. And it worked out great.
Incredible.
Like,
That's
incredible.
huge. Okay. So you're cat sitting and you like just have a place to live.
Yeah. And so I'll be here for a week, move over to aunts and uncles in a couple days just because I prefer that kind of part of town. Also, my cousin has 2 cats. I am so allergic to cats.
And yet you're cat sitting. Wait, are you allergic to your parents? Your parents have
Correct.
cats.
Correct. Also
So you just
allergic,
not
was
touch them?
allergic. if I touch them, I cannot touch like my face, anything. I am on Allegra. If I am home, like there's Allegra and Claritin like constantly in my body.
Adam's on the way.
Adam is
Okay, so what's the goal for the next 2 months? Like you you've had Wanderlust, I feel like, a couple of different times. And for you, I feel like it comes up, but it's funny, but it comes up for you when you're at the tail end of like a job or like you're in burnout. Like I feel like for you, it pops
exactly.
up in burnout.
When I'm burning out, I start to have this fantasy, and like this can't be unique. Like I start to imagine where else I'd rather be. One of the really hard parts about my last gig was like it just wasn't the right environment for me. Like it wasn't a state I could find myself making a home long term.
Right.
And then, so when you feel like you're not in a place you're supposed to be, all you can do is imagine the places you would rather be in. And so I was imagining this and fantasizing this and like putting this on a pedestal. And I think now that I'm here, I'm like, what the hell do I do? Like, I just had a 2-hour session with like ChatGPT, Gemini, like going through, it's like, okay, these are all the things in my head. Like, help me sort them. What does like a rough day look like? And just again, the same thing that happens. Like, I want to go into like planning, organization, like deliverables, like even when there is no money at hand, no bosses at hand. And then I saw this Reddit post that I sent to you, but I wanted to break down. It was like, does anyone else have an inexplicable desire to live abroad?
Mm.
Here's what the post goes into saying. So I've tried putting my desire to live abroad into words, desire to see the world, desire to broaden my horizons. Those things aren't false. It's just that the realities that my mind is constantly comes back to this idea of living abroad for reasons I don't understand. That was the thing.
Mm.
I think at its heart, I am here for reasons I don't fully understand. And now that I am here, I'm like, what am I doing with it? It's like, I'm not that woo woo, but like there was a call to come back here. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is safety. This is family. This is a culture that you feel really comfortable with. But now I'm here. And I'm like, now what? And I do have some
That's so
ideas. Like,
interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting because I think there's so many things to unpack, but like the
mm,
inexplicable desire part where you don't have a reason and you're just kind of being led. And I think a lot about how you just came off of a faith-based summer camp. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of just blind faith that goes into
Hmm.
packing your bags for 2 months and taking off with no game plan. Like you're following the lead of somebody else entirely. I don't know. Do
And
you
for the
feel that
record,
way?
no care, only one carry on in a backpack
That is
for two
truly
months
exceptional.
and two
That's
seasons.
wow. So you're just gonna wear the same stuff over and over and over again.
I have
Who
5 of
cares?
everything, and who's going to see
That's
me?
all you
I
need.
already wear like planes and neutrals. Laundry
Mhm.
exists. Also, packing cubes. 10 out of 10.
Yes. Oh, I love a
Just
packing
discovered
cube. Oh,
those.
I love a packing cube.
But that's the thing. It's like, when you imagine where you, like, we all imagine just like saying fuck it and moving somewhere, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine the place, but you don't always imagine what you're doing there.
That's so true. Do you think you had any vision for what you were gonna do there? Or is AI helping you create the vision? Or is there a
I
combination
think
of both?
there's definitely a vision. I need AI. And like, this is whole thing. It's like, let me have AI sort out what I'm going to do for the next 2 months of my life in Argentina. Kind of not a phrase I love that I just said and implied, but we'll deal with that later.
That's fine. We can do it later.
But I needed, like, I just needed to vomit on a page. I was talking to my mom over the weekend and we were saying, like, most people are really good at giving advice to other people. I really pride myself on like putting myself in other people's shoes, trying to see things from other people's perspective. And usually because of that, like I can help people less give advice, but like sort through like a monkey mind. Like I have a system, I call it napkining, like it's just like putting things down, making it physical. And so that's kind of what I did with ChatGPT. I was like, here is my vomit. And I was like, talk to me as if I was me, trying to sort me out. And like, so it
Ooh,
was
that's a
kind of
good
like,
prompt.
yeah, like at this point, it knows me, right? Like it knows my styles and everything. And I'm just like, give me advice from me. Um, and it kind of came up with like let's have mornings look like this, and let's have afternoons kind of include this. I like it. We'll see how it goes though.
Okay. Give
Because
us a
the
teaser.
timing,
What's it gonna look like? What's
I
the
have a
vibe?
fantasy. so like I had to I made myself like write down like my 3 or 4 goals while I'm here. God, I'm such like a type A action
I
oriented, like
love it.
obsessive person.
But
I
that's
try
not
and
a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
it's it is, I don't know. Is it like part of me wants to be like, yeah, no, it's not a bad thing. But if I'm being honest, I'm like, I kind of wish I could just like go with the flow, be in the moment, like follow the next like bright light to like the next fun thing. And I
But you
can do that
kind
for a
of
short amount of time.
are. You kind of are just by
Mm,
being there, I feel like. Like you booked the trip with no game plan. So now you're there and you're like, all right, I have 2 months. I have to make the most of it. Like, I don't even know if
right.
that's necessarily type A. It's just more that you are now there and you're looking at it and you're like, how do I make the most of this very precious time? And I think
Hmm.
if you were to like, follow a schedule to a T, it might be a little type A. But if you have like broad goals and like small action items to get there, I think that's just like good planning.
That's the hope. Like, that's kind of really the hope. It's like there's general ideas, want to bond with family. My Spanish is at like a medium level, like I say, like strongly conversational. I can talk about most things, but it ain't always pretty. Um, and here I'm just like, I want to feel confident, bond with family, keep up health and fitness, and honestly, just like create shit, which we're actively doing, and figure out what the fuck I want to do next. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things I'm excited about. I've also start putting in like job applications and stuff like that.
That's a
Um,
crazy prospect.
Crazy prospect. And because I was like, do you know what? Like this just popped up and this felt really like, again, this kind of thing is like, I can't describe it. It was like another stressful, high intensity news position. But I was like, this one feels like it would work. I don't know. We're just running on vibes. But we're going to gym. We're going to have
Yeah.
cafecitos. We're going to read the local paper in the morning.
What
We're
is a
going to
cafecito?
just like a mini coffee.
A mini coffee. Ooh.
Cafecito. It's like, just like, it's kind of like being like, can we have like a cute little coffee moment? Like, can we have a cafecito?
Oh,
It's
I
like,
would
yeah,
like to
like
have
a
a
cute little
cafecito
coffee
right
time
now.
moment.
Yeah,
Oh,
we should have a
big
cafecito
cafecito.
every time that we hop on this podcast. It may be decaf at this point in the day for me because, bebe, but I'm down for a little cafecito. I know. The cutting back the caffeine pregnant is always really hard for
Wait,
me.
is that a thing
Like,
you have to do?
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you can only have two. Well, I say you can only have. It's advised to only have 200 milligrams of caffeine a day. Some studies up to 300 milligrams. The doctors will tell you. My doctor told me one caffeinated beverage per day. I'm like, I could do two. Two
I
for
mean, an
200 milligrams.
Alani, like an Alani, Celsius, etc. That's 200
Oh,
milligrams.
that's 200 milligrams. Yeah, I don't do any of those when I'm pregnant. But
So if you do
but
two
yeah,
cups of coffee, you're probably, yeah, that's kosher.
you know what I do that really helps me? And this is a tangent, but
Says the
if
guy
anyone
that
who's
didn't know this
pregnant
was a
is
thing
listening
five
to this,
minutes ago.
and says the girl who didn't know what a cafecito was, I I cut my coffee like I do like half calf. So I brew it at
Mm.
home in the morning and I'll do just like a half calf little pot, and that way I can have 2 cups and it's like I've had one. But it's the volume of it, which last pregnancy I
Mm.
didn't want coffee this way. This pregnancy I want my coffee, which is very different.
Has no one
So I drink
studied
it
like pregnancy cravings and just like how,
like
why, or do we just assume that it's just like your body needs something and your brain's
your
connecting it to
body's
something
asking
else?
for something. It's most likely like when I think about the types of it's not even so much that I crave the coffee. It's like it's
Hmm.
ritual for me. And it also, coffee to me signals like sitting down to do work or focusing or
Huh.
like that. It's a focus thing for me. Like I always know that if I'm having my coffee, I'm sitting and writing, or it's like creative flow for me.
Mm.
And it's tea was actually what I craved the first pregnancy. I wanted matcha exclusively. So I did a lot of matcha and that kind of took the place, but this time it's been all coffee. So I'm
Let's
down
go
to have a
coffee.
cafecito. Yeah,
Baby number
I'm
two
down
is a
for
little
it.
caffeinated one. What
Listen,
did you find?
yes, yes.
So, what did you find? Because I know you were trying to put logic to my illogical feels. What were you finding in like why the hell people are doing what I'm doing?
So I found this study that was commissioned by this consulting firm, McKinsey, and it's from 2024. But I thought it kind of encapsulates this idea of wanderlust, and I think it's from what I read, it's generational. So millennials, Gen Z, we have this more flighty desire to live elsewhere, work remotely, Millennials, as we have talked about before, have this need to kind of recalibrate what we were taught as being acceptable in our adulthood to what we actually want in our adulthood. So for some
Wait, rewind
people,
that last part. That was a good one. I liked that.
yeah, yeah.
Underscore that one more time.
So I think what it comes down to is millennials, we have this way that we were brought up, we were taught the way things were supposed to be, and now we're recalibrating what we actually want our lives to look like and how we want to feel in our day to day. That's certainly been my experience with my career break. It's like, how do I want to feel day to day? I'm sure you're going through this right now. How do you want to feel day to day living in Argentina? And how do you want that to translate to your
Mm.
job and your life when you come back? And I think millennials and Gen Z, and if you read this, we can link this in the show notes. We should probably start doing that just as a general
Because
topic
we
for
keep
us.
saying we will and we
We're
don't.
like, we're going to put it in the show notes.
I know how
But
to
it's
do that now.
interesting. And yeah, and also there's definitely this post-COVID boom. So 66% of the travelers that they surveyed said that they were more interested in travel now than they were before COVID-19.
Mhm.
But this was back in 2024. But the Gen Z, specifically Gen Z group, I mean, the interest in travel is like way, way, way higher than, say Gen Xers, baby boomers,
I
so on
just
and so
think the
forth.
world feels, I think it's a couple things. I also really love what you said. It's like, how do you want to feel every day? That is a framing that I think I'm going to just like have to sit on for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing. It's like, do I want to feel productive at the end of the day? Do I want to feel like love, calm, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And like the honest answer is like, I don't know what I want to feel every day. I just know I don't want it to be stress.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot of other emotions and feelings that are
No, but
available.
you're spot on. And I really think that anyone who has left the news business recently is going to resonate with that, because I can tell you that was the exact same feeling I had when I walked out of a newsroom. It was, I don't know what I want to feel every day, but I know it's not this feeling.
Mm,
And what is the feeling? What is it that I want it to feel like, look like, sound like? What is my atmosphere? What is my energy at the end of my day? And I think now, like, the word that I keep coming back to is I want to feel creative at the end of my day. Like, I want to feel
mm,
like I have exerted some creative energy and expended something that, like, intellectually felt good, even if I didn't get, as much time as I wanted to that specific day. But at the end of the day, I want to feel that I harnessed some level of creative energy or expended it. And so
mm.
that's been where I have gone. And I think that's what I was lacking in my last news job, was the creativity. There was no creativity. I was just rinsing, repeating. I barely felt like a journalist. I felt like I was regurgitating the reporter from the night before, their story, trying to change a couple lines, not having any new visual or any new language to give it. And I was like, this isn't the way I want to use words. And so in my couple of
Mm.
years since,
This
I have
isn't the
felt
way I
like,
want to use words.
yeah, this isn't the way I want to use words. And language is so powerful. And so having that, once you identify that, it just takes time, but once you identify the way you want to feel, I think that's going to guide your path next.
I really like that. It's like this
Yeah.
idea, because now all of a sudden I have this feeling like the world is at my fingertips. I've spent so
Mhm.
long preparing to literally be in this seat with you doing this, like thinking about this stuff. And it's almost overwhelming, all of the options that are now available. I mean, I truly
Yes.
like this. The Argentina isn't as cheap as it used to be. There's the political side of this country is fascinating, and I challenge anyone to read into it. Um, but it's a little bit better economically, which means the dollar's like a little less strong here. But other than that, like I can pretty much this is a major metropolitan city. Like Buenos Aires
Yeah.
is a everything you could want or ask for is here and available, and thankfully more or less affordable. Uh, it's just like now what? And yeah. So other than like learning Spanish, which is like an obvious thing to throw in there, and bonding with family, which is just going to happen naturally. I'm having most meals with a family member at least once a day.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll see.
But
But I
the
like
the
that. It's like, what do I want
possibilities
to do?
are endless. And that is something that I have felt the last couple of years too. Like, even with, like, oh, I could like go the influencer route. I could be more of a content creator. I could do freelance video work. I could become a photographer. Like I remember being so like overwhelmed with all of the same feelings and options. And
Because people want to tell you them too. Like everyone's like, oh, you
mhm,
just left news. Like, here's all the skills you already have.
yes, yes. But sometimes it's just taking time to sit with like what you actually want to do and what actually fills your cup each day. And it's also going to be taking a couple missteps and doing things you don't like. I've definitely done that in the last couple of years where I'm like, I did some branded work, I didn't love it, or I did some content creation that felt icky. It took really drilling in on what actually felt good. And now I'm like, okay, now I see it. Now I can see it for what it actually
Mm.
is. And so your 2 months may just be that seeing it for what it actually is time frame for you.
The other thing I was thinking about a lot as I was finishing camp, and I actually didn't write this, but this was coming up for me as we were talking, is so I was home for like 48 hours. First of all, like Jewish mother's gonna Jewish mother. I love you.
Oh
My
yeah.
mother does not listen to this. I do not think she even knows how to yet. I love you if you figured this out, Mom. Congrats. But I came home and she was just like, "Oh my God, you're too skinny."
Oh
Everything
my
like
God.
all of that cliche. And then my dad, who also has like very different takes on everything, was just like, I think you finally realized you're an adult after being with 18 to 22-year-olds.
Thanks,
And
Dad.
I didn't like that originally because I was like, I have a 401k, I pay for my own health insurance. I like was just at
Yeah.
the DMV. Like, trust me, we can adult. But that kind of hit me. I actually think there was a lot right in there because I was like, oh, this is what an 18, 19, 20-year-old looks like. This is what I thought I was doing then. And this is how far I've come now of like how I react to things, how I approach things, how I
Mm-hmm.
think about like my responsibility. Like you have a responsibility to you. No one is going to save your ass. If I came to Argentina and none of my family was like, sorry, we can't, I knew I would have to like put up for a hostel or something for a couple nights to
Right,
figure it
right.
out. And so I was thinking, it's like, when was that moment? My question for you is like, do you have a moment that you're like, oh shit, I'm an adult? Like,
Ooh,
is it motherhood?
that's a really good question. I'm trying to think because I don't think I ever really felt like an adult until I got married.
Huh. And you were still pretty young when you got married.
Yeah, I would say so. I was 26, turning 27
Okay.
when I got married.
Normal.
Um, and at that time, I was in my second TV job. And I think, but I don't, it's funny. I don't know if I actually really believed I was an adult or if I was just kind of gaslighting myself into believing I was an adult.
Because you know you're supposed to at
Because,
that point.
yeah, because you're supposed to. And I was working this job where I was anchoring with people who were 20 years my senior, and I had to just become an adult. And
Mm.
it's so funny because when I was like anchoring those shows, and this is just some behind the scenes of how I was living at that point, I was still living like a college kid. Like I was still living with two other girls. We were going out, we were having a good time. Like on weeknight, like like when I think back to
Exactly.
that,
No, like
you
I
know what
was
I mean? It was
doing.
like that juxtaposition.
And it's a hard, and like there wasn't a moment that I thought, oh, I'm not an adult. Like I'm still, like we all joke. It's like, no, I never want to grow up. It's like, I'm still 22 in my heart. I'm still a college student in my heart. But there is that moment that you're just like, oh shit. And
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
can
have to think
imagine, like,
about
if I
that.
was in a wedding dress looking at myself in the mirror or like tux for my wedding, I feel like that'd be like the holy shit, I'm making a like big
Yeah.
legal life move.
Yeah, I think that was definitely it for me because I also knew so Logan and I did not live together before we got married. I think you know this. Logan
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
did not live together before we got married. And so us getting married was also him moving into the house fully and us
Mm,
coexisting and cohabitating for the first time. And that was like I felt like that was a big step. And we were combining finances. And at that time, I mean,
Mama
my
was breadwinner.
parents, Yeah, mama was the breadwinner. I love to drop that little nugget in there every so often.
Well,
But speaking of money, my parents were hugely helpful when I was starting out in TV and I made no money and I was living in upstate New York. Oh my God. They saved me. I mean, they supplemented my income. And let me just say, not everybody has that family support. And I would have had to work a second job. And I remember saying to my parents, like, I could work a second job. I could go work a second job. And they were like, we're not gonna, you need to focus. Just do this year. We're gonna supplement your income. We're gonna help you out, help you pay your rent, whatever you need. And I am
mhm.
forever in their debt. Because they showed up for me in a way that I think is incredible. And it cannot be taken for granted, even in a world where like we could go on a whole tangent about the economy and the way that Gen Z and Gen Alpha is living with parents for much, much longer and being supported by their parents for much, much longer. But at that time, the millennials of the world were like, oh no, we have to go out and we have to make our own way. And to have them supplement my income, I remember feeling ashamed, but
So
they saved
much.
me. I mean, they really did. And even when I started in Colombia, they supplemented my income when I was just reporting. It wasn't until I took that first anchor job and actually had the title that they stopped supplementing my income. And I feel like we need to do an entire episode on like TV news salaries. But I'll tell you, when I moved to
People
Colombia,
don't get
they don't get
it.
it. I made $32,000 in my first job in Colombia, and I negotiated it up,
It's a supply and
up.
demand thing. There is a million grads right out of ASU, Northwestern, name any
Hmm.
journalism program who will take your spot. And
Uh-huh.
news directors oftentimes are just like, well, that's the cheaper option. I'm going to have to train either of them up. And there's someone who will take it for cheaper decisions, like we'll support you for this amount of time, this amount of ways. But
Yeah,
no, I couldn't have been a reporter without that. And
no.
it makes me viscerally upset. Like,
Hmm.
it makes me so upset that anybody leaving with a college degree and all of these things with a dream and a passion and a resume tape and experience and all those things is still going. I mean, making not much. I mean, when I was at the summer camp, everybody really thought I was loaded, like
That's
independently loaded.
crazy.
And I really had to tell, like, I started being just super transparent about my salary. I'm like, this is what I was making. I had a rabbi. And this is another aside that is, again, not what we planned, but I'm following the vibes,
I
which
love it.
is I had a rabbi at this camp. He's the rabbi of a synagogue that had a terrorist attack.
Mm.
It was awful. And when I told him I was a reporter, his first reaction was like, y'all can be vicious.
Mm.
And like, I didn't know like his experience with reporters and stuff, like, or persistent. He had a more kind of politically correct term, but you could see in the face, you were like, holy shit, you guys. And
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And like a few days later, like we kind of broke it down. He told me what happened, but he was still in the middle of the active situation, was getting reporter calls, reporters emphasizing like their Jewish last names to try to get
Mm.
access. Like,
Oh,
on the same day and the same hours as like this is happening, and the follow-ups and the like, and the way that they felt, like he was like, and I hate so much, and I get on both sides, like the reporters just had a news director that was just like, I need it was something at a synagogue, give me the rabbi. And he was like, you guys have your
yeah.
ways of finding my number, and all of a sudden I'm like still with my congregants comforting them and my phone's blowing up.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for that too.
Hearing his experience and knowing, and this was the hard part, knowing that there's a very high chance if I was in that market at that time, I would have been one of those reporters.
Yeah. Yeah. And it brings up a really interesting topic right now here in Boston. There is this horrific case that's at trial right now.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've seen some of the coverage of the Lindsay
Honestly,
Clancy
just your
case.
posts, frankly.
Yeah. So it was a case that happened back in 2023. She had postpartum psychosis. She strangled her three children. It was in this very beautiful suburb of Boston, and it's on the South Shore. And the coverage of the trial this week has just been excruciating. Like that's the only way I can describe
Mm.
it. And it goes back to this. It's one of the most basic tenets of journalism. It's like the harm versus
Do
good,
no harm.
yeah, principle. And there's harm toward the person who is being covered. There's harm toward the public. It's the harm can go in any direction when you're looking at that ethically. And I think one of the big things I've been sitting with this week, because a lot of people have reached out and said, have you been following the coverage? And I'm like, I'm kind of trying to avoid the day-to-day coverage because, as we know, the day-to-day coverage is so
Who has the latest nugget?
immediate. Yeah, it's who has the latest nugget. Let's pull the most devastating soundbite. Let's watch her breakdown as she's sitting there listening to the 911 calls. And the 911 calls, by the way, are not allowed to be broadcast.
Well,
Her husband actually tried to keep them out of court entirely, but that motion was denied. So, point being, there's all of this coverage. And I have been thinking so much about the way that we cover something like this. And the Boston Globe had a really beautiful op-ed. We'll put it in the show notes. Really beautiful op-ed that just came out either this morning or yesterday. And it was all about, like, when you share something so immediate happening like that, you don't have enough time to actually analyze it. You don't have time for an expert to really weigh in. Like, you're just sharing this awful, devastating detail in real time with no context, with no analysis, and it doesn't serve anyone. It really just causes harm. And so I think that is something that, like, journalists of tomorrow really need to think about as they get into the business in a 24/7 news cycle. You really have to come back to that really basic principle over and over and over again. And I feel so much for especially these female reporters who are in the courtroom and they're having to hop out and do live shots and post on social media. Like, I don't think I would be comfortable sharing any of the details from that trial. You know what I
sheesh.
mean? Like, it's
No,
just so dark. It brings up
no,
a really
please.
important conversation about postpartum mental health and the way that we treat women in the healthcare system. Just the way that she was prescribed medication alone is, like, horrifying. But to have that conversation, it requires so much nuance. It requires experts. It requires time and space that the 24/7 news cycle does not allow. And that's the hill that I'm on today, because it has just been blowing up my social media feed. And it's just
Mm,
like my algorithm also knows that I
it's
am
just
a
this.
pregnant woman. Yeah. And so it's pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. Every time I open it up,
Oh
that's what I
shit! Between
see.
Boston pregnancy, like
Yeah. It's
you're
just,
at the cross section of this
yes. And I just keep getting the clips from the trial. And I'm like, I don't want the clips from the trial.
because they know
Yesterday I
it'll freak
read,
you out.
yes. I'm like, I want the Substack of the experts and talking about how often do you actually see postpartum psychosis? What is the treatment?
Hmm.
What are the things you're looking, like, really the deep dive analysis? And it's just not something that the 24/7 news cycle um, can really go into. So anyway, that's my tangent on the Lindsay
No,
Clancy
I've got a
case.
button for that. And my button for that is one of the notes I left the rabbi with was, and kind of what I fear when you're talking about this, is at least when we're reporters, we still have an editorial system.
Yeah.
Like how you get, like there's still an editor, there's still people kind of standing between you and hitting publish immediately,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. Once and once we get to more influencer journalists, more content creators doing real time coverage of things happening, those same barriers and rules that we at least like, look, no journalist is perfect. But I would argue most try to follow that as closely as they can. But when people just stop
Absolutely.
following what could be ethical, like when you start going to a victim's house after hours, knocking on the
Oh,
door, staking it out, like there's certain things that are just going to be overkill that I've seen influence. Like I did a story in Nashville where it was a disappeared college student who was like in town for a frat party. And like the TikTokers that came out, I mean, the family was just like asking me, like, how do we get rid of them? And I was like, I thought I was part of the,
I don't
like,
know.
yeah, like, hell if I know, like, it's public property. They have cell phones. They will show up.
Right.
Um, And so that makes me really nervous about, and that's kind of making me hope of all this conversation. Like at the professional level, if like you are an employed hired journalist by a company, we need to raise our standard. Like
yeah, we do.
we need to make it so clear we are distinct from, and there is still an amazing value in content creation, journalism, etc. But there needs to be a like, this is who you're dealing with versus this could be, I don't know.
No, I completely agree with that. And you brought up the influencer thing, and this is a lighter topic, but have you seen any of the drama surrounding the no influencer sign at the that shop on Nantucket? You probably haven't.
No, this is out of my feed. This is out of my algorithm.
My algorithm is, well, obviously because I was just there, but there was this, the TLDR is, there's this trade guild, like very specialized shop that sells these special vintage like baskets. Okay. They're like, it's a thing on Nantucket. It's like a purse, but it's a basket. And some of them can run thousands of dollars. Okay. It's very specialized, very niche. Yeah. Think about that for a second. And it is a long time artisan trade there on the island. It's well known.
Okay.
The store it feels exclusive. It's vintage, it feels like that. And then you have a store that opened up called Dairy Boy. And its creator is an influencer. And Dairy Boy has lines down the block, like every day. I had to wait in a line to get in there. Okay.
God, I don't wait that long for food. If it's more than a 10-minute line, I ain't going to do it. Sorry, fam.
I didn't wait for the longest day. For the longest lines, I was like, I'm not waiting. But I did want to go in there. I really wanted one of the sweaters. And I was like, I'll go back at like 4 or 5 o'clock when it's like just a few people in the line. And I did. And I waited for 10 minutes and then I went in. Anyway, this sign with the super expensive baskets, we'll just generalize it and make it really easy. So the shop with the super expensive baskets put up a sign in there that said, super expensive basket shop that says no influencers. There's been this backlash on the island with some of the longtime trade guild members that they feel like Nantucket's being overrun by influencers, and they feel like they don't want to see ring lights on the street corner and they don't want to be extras in the videos of these influencers, blah, blah, blah. And so then Paige,
I'm sorry, welcome to
Lorenz
2026.
Paige Lorenz, now Paige Paul, who is the influencer who started Dairy Boy, she came out with this big like response. And obviously her shop has gotten a ton of buzz because she's like the only shop that has these lines around the block. Like you have to wait to get into her shop. Right? That is
the business model.
That is the business model. And if they have an issue with it.
It's not like, yes, have an issue with it. I get it. You don't want that. You're trying, but every time a neighborhood or an area or a city is like trying to preserve their culture, trying to hold on to what they believe makes them, like you need to find the battles you're gonna fight, my guy. Like, are we going to talk about like how the shop looks? Like we can talk about the styling, make sure it fits in. But if you're just saying no people who create content here, we are all influencers. You post it on Instagram. You're not trying to be an influencer, but you're influencing. You influence your friends.
It's become such an interesting conversation because obviously the influencer crowd was like, okay, hey, you're targeting a specific group of people with a specific job description and you're saying they're not allowed. Meanwhile, what they probably really meant was, hey, no photography. Like, we don't want you coming in here taking photos.
Which is fine.
Like,
please,
which is fine.
No filming allowed is a very real thing.
Yes. And to bring it back to the news, it's like we're on a street corner with a camera asking people to comment on things that they don't know anything about. So let's just not get mad at the influencer. Yeah. Let's not get mad at the influencer on the corner. Yeah, exactly. Man on the street is the OG TikTok. Like, let's be for real. Man on the street.
It's just getting what reactions, like what big emotional reactions can you get?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we went down a rabbit hole, but I think it was all good stuff. Finish us off with some good news because we hit some deep dive topics today.
And we were going to be like very light and wanderlusty. We
started with Wanderlust, and then we were like, oh, let's talk about the cases going on this week. Yikes.
And
but
that's
how
because
we
it's
do.
our podcast and not yours.
And we can do whatever we want.
Because no one pitched this, baby.
Literally.
Here's
Zero people.
Just literally no one asked us for this.
No one asked. And we should have just changed the name to this podcast to Nobody Asked.
No one asked.
Nobody asked.
Here's my runner's world story that I just loved because it is so like I can imagine us doing this as a talker at the end of a segment. Because it's like there's an IKEA marathon happening this year, and you may have to self-assemble your medal, of course. Great headline writing. I clicked.
Beautiful.
The course is inside the store and takes runners up and down the aisles. So logistically, makes sense. IKEAs are large. Do a couple laps. You can get your marathon in. You are a runner or have run many times in life. Would you even do a half marathon in an IKEA for the novelty?
How many times do you have to go around it can't be more than a quarter-mile loop, right? I
don't know. Some IKEAs be crazy. This one's in England.
Okay.
It takes place on December 13th, 2027. Each lap is believed to be about 1.5 kilometers, requiring marathons to complete 17 loops. So could you do roughly 9 loops of an IKEA in England in return for a medal that then you assemble yourself?
Only if I get some free Swedish meatballs on the other side. That's all I gotta say.
Ooh.
I want the meatballs. Meatball a mile. Yeah. Is it going to be IKEA food like at the water and snack stops? Like I need to know. But you know what it reminds me of? What's that?
Wait, hold on. You manifested this quote. Hold on.
Okay, I'm
the
ready.
Nutrition will also be typically IKEA. They won't open the canteen, but we're looking at having meatballs at the aid station. If not that, we might give a bag of meatballs to every finisher, but that's yet to be confirmed.
Imagine eating a meatball mid-half marathon. That actually makes me want to throw up thinking about it. But also, the meatballs at the end would be delightful. It reminds me of the Great World Race where what's her name? Oh my gosh, Michelle
Carr, who
yes,
God, I'm such a fan.
She completed it. What is it? 7 marathons on
7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days.
Yes, and so the one on Antarctica is like a loop. It's just, and they have to do the loop over and over.
Just do it over and over and over.
And she talks about how like grueling it was mentally because you're like, obviously you're frozen and you're having to do the same loop and it's never ending. You don't even know where you are. So like, imagine doing that at IKEA. Different, but same.
Well, you just compared Antarctica to IKEA.
I just compared Antarctica to IKEA. But same, but different.
Same, different.
Yeah,
Michelle Carr, if you ever tune into this podcast, I love you.
Oh my God. Yeah. Michelle Carr could eat meatballs at every stop. That she could do that. She has the mental fortitude.
And on that note, it is 3:00 and that means it's lunchtime in Argentina.
Do you get a siesta after this?
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm going to go get my nails done with my future sister-in-law.
Oh my gosh. Enjoy. Okay. We'll see you guys next week when we'll be back.
See you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.